There's exactly one Blockbuster store left on Earth. It's in Bend, Oregon, and it's basically a museum now. In 2000, the founders of a tiny DVD by mail startup flew to Dallas and offered to sell their company to Blockbuster for $50 million. Blockbuster's CEO reportedly laughed them out of the room. That startup was Netflix. As of mid-2026, it's worth roughly $290 billion. This isn't just a story about a company that missed one deal. Blockbuster actually figured out how to fight back years later and came close to winning. Then its own boardroom killed the plan. Here's how a company beat its own strategy.
Blockbuster opened its first store in Dallas in 1985 and grew into the undisputed king of home video. By its peak in 2004, it had over 9,000 stores worldwide, more than 84,000 employees, and roughly $6 billion a year in revenue. Late fees weren't a side annoyance, they were core to the business. At their peak, late fees brought in around $800 million a year, about 16% of total revenue. Meanwhile, in 1997, Reed Hastings and Marc Randolph started a small DVD by mail service called Netflix, reportedly after Hastings got hit with a $40 late fee on a Blockbuster rental. Netflix's whole pitch was the opposite of Blockbuster's business model: a flat subscription, no due dates, no late fees. By 2000, Netflix was still small and losing money, under 300,000 subscribers. So its founders did something bold. They flew to Dallas and offered to sell the whole company to Blockbuster for $50 million. As Netflix's co-founders later described it, Blockbuster's CEO, John Antioco, didn't take the offer seriously. He's since disputed how formal those talks really were, but both sides agree a meeting happened, and Blockbuster walked away without a deal. At the time, it looked like an easy call. Netflix had a website and a few 100,000 subscribers who mailed DVDs back and forth. Blockbuster had 9,000 stores and $6 billion in revenue. Why would the king of video rental pay for a company that didn't even turn a profit?
For a few years, nothing happened. Netflix kept growing quietly. Blockbuster kept collecting late fees. But by 2004, Netflix had grown to 2.6 million subscribers, and executives inside Blockbuster could no longer pretend it was a niche business. Blockbuster finally responded, and to its credit, it responded seriously. In 2005, under CEO John Antioco, Blockbuster launched Total Access, a program that let customers rent online, mail discs back and forth like Netflix, and also return them at a physical store for an immediate free in-store rental. It combined Blockbuster's biggest advantage, thousands of physical locations, with Netflix's subscription model. It also meant eliminating the late fees that had powered a huge chunk of Blockbuster's profit, and spending roughly $400 million a year building the online side of the business. And here's the part that gets left out of the popular version of this story: it worked. Blockbuster Online grew to more than 2 million subscribers within about 18 months. Total Access was closing the gap on Netflix. For a moment, Blockbuster looked like it might actually pull off the turnaround.
This is the part of the story that isn't really about Netflix at all. It's about what happened inside Blockbuster while Total Access was working. Cutting late fees and ramping up online spending hurt short-term profitability, even while it was building long-term position. That gave an opening to activist investor Carl Icahn, who had built a large stake in Blockbuster stock and wanted the company focused on cash flow, not growth spending. In 2005, Icahn pushed onto Blockbuster's board and began pressuring Antioco to cut costs. The conflict became personal. A dispute over Antioco's bonus turned into a boardroom fight over the direction of the entire company. By 2006 to 2007, Antioco had lost the board's confidence. He negotiated an exit and left in July 2007, the same executive who'd designed the strategy that was actually starting to work. His replacement was Jim Keyes, previously CEO of 7-Eleven. Keyes believed Blockbuster's future was in stores, not online subscriptions. He reversed course almost immediately. He slashed the marketing budget for Blockbuster Online and Total Access, and in 2010, he brought back the late fees Antioco had eliminated. Blockbuster Online lost roughly half its subscribers within a year of the change in direction. The turnaround that had been closing the gap on Netflix was dismantled by the company that built it. Even Carl Icahn, years later, admitted the ambiguity of what happened. He said plainly that Total Access might have helped Blockbuster fend off Netflix, and that he didn't know how things would have turned out if the fight over Antioco's bonus had never happened.
While Blockbuster was retreating from its digital strategy, Netflix wasn't standing still. In 2007, the same year Antioco left, Netflix launched streaming video, a format Blockbuster had no real answer for. Blockbuster's debt load made the situation worse. A 2004 spin-off from Viacom had loaded the company with roughly $900 million in debt, leaving little room to maneuver once revenue started dropping. On September 23, 2010, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing around $900 million in debt. By then, its once massive late fee revenue had collapsed from $800 million a year to about $134 million. In 2011, satellite TV company Dish Network bought Blockbuster's remaining assets out of bankruptcy for $320 million, a fraction of what Blockbuster had once been worth. By 2014, Dish had closed the last of the corporate-owned stores. Today, one independently owned location remains open in Bend, Oregon, kept alive as much by nostalgia as by business.
Killed Blockbuster. The company had years afterward to adapt, and for a while, it actually did. Total Access proves Blockbuster wasn't blind to the threat. Leadership identified the right strategy and started executing it. The failure wasn't a lack of vision, it was a lack of follow-through. A company can have the right strategy and still lose if internal politics cut it off before it finishes working. Antioco's fight with Icahn cost Blockbuster the one executive who'd committed to the plan that was actually gaining ground. And maybe the sharpest lesson, reversing a hard, expensive strategic bet halfway through doesn't just stop the progress, it can erase it entirely. Blockbuster didn't fail by standing still. It failed by starting to move, then turning back.
Amazon nearly went bankrupt and committed all the way through the pain to come out the other side. Blockbuster saw the same kind of threat, built the right response, and pulled back right before it paid off. Same danger. Opposite ending. That's the difference commitment makes. If you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe. New case study every week.